Hello, Peachies! Welcome back to Dear Peachie. If you've ever watched Hong Kong movies from the 90s, then Shu Qi is definitely a name you're familiar with. She's an irreplaceable icon in Chinese cinema, a beauty like no other. Her look is modern, confident, and full of attitude. Although she's taken a break from the spotlight for a while, she recently made a stunning comeback through a few commercial appearances. When her new photos were released, the beauty community was in awe. Her timeless elegance and stunning presence left everyone speechless. In today's video, we found a gorgeous makeup influencer on XiaoHongShu named Qi with a similar face shape to Shu Qi. And she's going to recreate Shu Qi's signature smoky, earth-toned look. Qi is a well-known influencer on XiaoHongShu who shares everything about square face shapes, from makeup and hair to styling tips. If you have a similar face shape, she's definitely the one to follow. To recreate this look on square face shape, Qi recommends for top 3 tips to emphasize in your makeup look. First, contour based on your face shape. Make sure the eyeshadow is well blended, and the tone of the blush should harmonizes with the overall tone of the makeup look. Before she begins, Qi applies a serum balm stick to hydrate her skin, especially around areas that tend to get dry easily, like the corners of the mouth and the sides of the nose. This helps prevent patchiness or flakiness later on. Always remember to prep your skin with a product that suits your skin type before applying any makeup. Next, Qi moves on to concealing her dark circles. If you have pigmentation around your upper eyelids, she recommends lightly dabbing on a thin layer of foundation first. This helps create a smooth base and prevents your eyeshadow from creasing later. When it comes to foundation, it's totally up to you how much coverage you prefer. For this look, Qi is going for a lightweight base, since Shu Qi's signature style usually features a breathable finish that lets her natural freckles show through. So Qi is intentionally leaving her freckles visible. What's more important in this step is that Qi is concealing her tear troughs and applying a matte highlighter to the central areas of her face like the forehead, nose bridge, smile lines, corners of the mouth, and chin. This helps enhance the forward projection of her features, which is especially useful for balancing wider face shapes. When applying highlighter, make sure to pat it gently without pushing or pulling your skin. Use a vertical, lifting motion to avoid smudging it into other areas. For nose contour, Qi noticed that Shu Qi has a naturally wider nose bridge. So instead of trying to create a narrow shape, she simply applies contour along the nose root, bridge, and tip to add subtle dimension without over-defining the nose. Using the same contour product, Qi blends it at the outer corners of her eyes and sweeps it upward toward the brow tail. This helps create a deeper, more sculpted eye effect. For facial contour, she applies cream contour along the highest points of her cheekbones and along the jawline to define the structure of her face. When it comes to blush, she chooses a low-saturation warm peach shade from Red Chamber in shade Silky, dabbing it onto the outer areas of her cheeks around the cheekbones. This gives a warm, healthy flush. She uses a cushion puff to blend it out carefully, focusing on keeping the color controlled around the outer corners of the eyes. This blush shade also works as a subtle contour color, blending seamlessly with the highlight and contour for a cohesive look. You can also add a touch of the same blush to the sides and tip of the nose, the chin, and along the hairline to create a softly bronzed, sun-kissed finish. Next, Qi sets her base using a setting spray to lock in the blush and keep the pigment vibrant throughout the day. She loves using the Scandinavia setting spray because the nozzle delivers a super fine and even mist. After that, she lightly sets specific areas with setting powder, especially where she tends to get oily, like the eyelids, nose, and corners of the mouth. Shu Qi is known for her fuller brows, so Qi starts by filling in the sparse areas of her brows to make them look thicker and extends the tail slightly for a more elongated shape. For the eyeshadow base, she uses a champagne shimmer shade from the Clio shade and shadow palette, blending it evenly across her upper eyelids. Next, she picks up a dark brown shade with a blending brush and applies it within the crease, blending it in with sweeping motions. At the outer corners of the eyes, she uses a circular, swirling motion to diffuse the color downward toward the outer lower lash line for a smoky effect. Then, switching to a smaller brush, she takes the same dark brown shade and blends it along the outer lower lash line, working from the outermost corner inward. To define the eyes, Qi lines her upper lash line using a black eyeliner, keeping the line close to the roots of the lashes. She also fills in the inner corners and the inner third of her lower lash line to enhance depth and shape. Next, Qi layers a black eyeshadow directly over the eyeliner, keeping it close to the lash roots and blending the two together for a softer, smokier effect. She then gently blends the shadow upward at the outer corners and connects it with the lower outer lash line to create that signature smoky finish. Qi emphasizes the importance of this connection at the outer corners to really bring out the depth of the look. For shimmer, she uses Bobbi Brown's Moonstone and dabs it onto the center of the eyelids, the brow bone, the inner corners, and along the agyosal. Shu Qi doesn't have a very prominent agyosal, so if you prefer to skip this step, that's totally fine. But Qi lightly traces the contour of her lower eye fat at the center to subtly mimic that effect. To clean up and brighten the look, Qi uses a matte powder highlighter across the mid-face region. Since Shu Qi has fuller, wider lips, Qi slightly overlines her lips to capture that same vibe. For the lip color, she uses the same cream blush on her lips to keep the tones consistent and harmonized across the whole look. And that's it. This is the final look inspired by Shu Qi's timeless beauty. This soft, smoky earth tone look is especially flattering for square face shapes. Whether you're going for a subtle glam or want something timeless for a special occasion, this look enhances your natural structure while keeping everything wearable and effortlessly chic. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the next video. Goodbye.